Hello, thank you so much for joining me. I want to talk a little bit about peace and quiet. Quiet rather than silence, because silence is not an easy thing to achieve. I think the nearest that I've been to it was in Iceland, um, getting ready for a dog sled ride, which was amazing, absolutely wonderful. But before the dogs were tied onto the sled, I took a few steps away from them, and all I could see was white, pure white, with glistening, twinkly bits where the sun was reflected from the snow. No birds. I'd left the people talking behind me, the dogs barking. They weren't, they were eating, so they were occupied. It was, I think, the nearest to silence. Either that or the middle of a really quite heavy woodland, which would block out any sounds. But now, got the cars, and on a day like today, when people tend to drive with their windows open, their choice of music blasting out. I find it loud, goodness knows what it's like in the car. But for peace, I'm happy if I can block out the sound of traffic, block out the sound of aircraft. I'm happy with things like the tinkling of the wind chimes, the rustling of the leaves, the singing of the birds. That adds to the peace and quiet for me. Um, Maybe under the duvet, where you're blocking out sounds, but you can still hear your own breathing if you choose to tune into that. And unfortunately, I have tinnitus, so even if I stick my fingers in my ears, I've got that constant buzzing sound. Yes, there are times when I can block it out during the day, but the quieter it gets around me, the more I am aware of the ringing, the bells, but it's not bell like, it's just a buzz, a waspish buzz. So, what other silences are there? There can be the silence of someone that you love that you haven't heard from for a while. Maybe they are just out of communication, maybe you've had a fallout, but that silence can be a hurtful one. And there's a silence of those that we've lost through death. I have just a short bit of video with my father's voice on it. But sadly, when we moved over here from Lincolnshire, we had to throw lots of things, and the bag with all the tape to tape recordings and the old tape recorder were deemed not fit for taking over. Not by me, I should add, and were binned. And they had my mother and my father talking on them. And there are times that I would really, really love to hear that. I've got photographs so I can see them. I've got bits of cinefilm so I can see them moving, but not hear them. Hey ho, it is what it is. And I suppose I'm quite contradictory, not only in this, but in many areas of my life, that my very favourite piece of music is The Sound of Silence. And if you've heard it, yes, it starts off very quietly, but it reaches a crescendo where it's far from silent. And I've heard lots of versions of this. I'm not keen on the original Simon and Garfunkel version. There is a group called Pentatonix, I think, who use their voices in lieu of instruments as well as vocally. I think there's some drumming going on, I'm not sure. I like their version. And I heard recently a version by one of our military bands and two of their singers. That was wonderful. But my all-time favourite, it has to be Disturbed. And when I was walking with Dave last weekend, no, during the week, he had a t-shirt on that had got Disturbed on it. And not that he was feeling disturbed, the group Disturbed. And he was surprised that I knew of them and that I held in great respect the guy who gave the rendition of The Sound of Silence. He starts off with this soft and tender vocal. And gradually, as the instruments come in, his voice gets gritty, gravelly, amazing. And I spent quite a bit of time the other day belting it out in the sitting room, time after time. And I loved it. It made me feel good. Probably anybody listening wouldn't have felt the same, but hey. So, on that note, I shall say thank you for joining me. And I am trying to get a few recordings made because, once again, this camera, my phone, is misbehaving and it will have to go in for repair or be replaced. So I need to get some pieces in the bag. Thank you for joining me. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now. Bye.